My parents got divorced when I was 4. That's actually my first memory. I remember going up to the bathroom and my mom was crying. I was like, what's wrong, what's wrong? And then she told me, and that is literally my first ever memory. Build tree houses, put up zip lines. Dude, it was like before any of us had social media. None of us had phones. We had like our iPod touches, but none of us had phones. None of us had social media. You know, our parents were like, go outside, go play. So it was just like every day in the summer, everyone would just meet up on their bikes, or we go knock on each other's doors and be like, hey, let's go. Can Corey play? Like shit like that. Nothing beats it. Because it was just complete, like just kids being kids.
So when did that energy start to shift?
Elementary school was small, right? So you got the school, then you got your grade, and then you have your class. In elementary school, it's very just class oriented, because you got your 30 kids in your class, and that's kind of who you spend the most time with. So it was small. So I felt super confident in that environment. And then when I went to middle school, it was like, oh, you change class every period. And so now it's like the whole grade is your class. It was a whole different environment. My confidence just went, and that's the same time, you know, I downloaded Snapchat and Instagram. So social media started to be prominent in my life. And I don't know, confidence just went down. My friends that were my friends in elementary school, now I don't see them as much. So now I don't really have very many friends. And I don't know, the whole dynamic just started to shift. And it was very overwhelming. I noticed me trying to do stuff to fit in because I didn't feel accepted. We'd all sit down and we'd have the lunch table, and then like one person would come and sit down at the other table, and then boom, everyone would be like count down and get up and move. And then like you'd have to get up and move, or you just like sit at the lunch table and then you're just by yourself. That was the first time I ever had to I kind of push myself into a friend group, and I don't know why I did it. I mean, looking back, it was like silly, just like, dude, go sit by yourself. But right now, that's like easier to say.
Did you feel nervous to show up to go eat every day?
Every time, dude. It was like every time, like, damn, I might sit by myself today. That was in the back of my mind. I was like, oh, I'm going to be that kid sitting by himself. Because I didn't have that, like, good established friend group. And I just never felt, like, fully wanted. So I just kept feeling worthless. I was a late bloomer. So, like, I didn't really get girls in middle school. Girls didn't notice me, but they noticed all my friends. It just made me feel like shit. Everyone else is, like, out there having fun, and they're doing this, and they're doing that, and they're hanging out with girls. And they got their cliques, they got their friend groups, and, like, they look better than me, they're taller than me. And I was like, all right. I got my first vape in 8th grade, so I was 13. And then I started juuling, and then I started smoking weed with my older brothers. But the first time, I think I was by myself, believe it or not. I think the first time I've ever done any drug, I was by myself. I think I was scared what other people might think, like, of my reaction. Like, I didn't want anyone else there. And then I went into high school, already feeling like a piece of shit. My high school was massive, dude. It's like the second biggest public high school in the country, Carmel High School, and high school just got a lot worse, and it was way too overwhelming. I was like, fuck this, I'm gonna just chill by myself, and I'm just gonna be okay with it. But the thing is, I wasn't okay with it. I just hung out by myself, man. I didn't do school. I didn't do homework. I didn't pay attention in classes. I was just extremely, extremely anxious all the time. Didn't really hang out with people. Just kind of kept to myself. My mom's always been so supportive. Honestly, I always treated her like shit. And that's all she tried to offer me, was just her love and support. I was just like, nah, I don't want it.
So then what did that lead into?
Just isolation and me feeling like I didn't deserve it. And then it was just me in my room, and I started smoking a lot more, like every day, and started playing video games a lot, and I was failing every class. All 3 years of high school that I went to, I failed every core class every year. I took summer school every single year. Yeah, my GPA I graduated high school with a 1.6 GPA. So when I shut down, I shut down. When I kind of shut everyone else out like that, I just completely isolated myself. My parents found me just like, it was like my first, so I just got a new job. I got hired at McAllister's. It was my first shift, and my mom woke me up because I was late, and she found me like passed out with like my dab pen next to me and like a half gallon, and it was some sort of rum. And a week later, they put me into this outpatient rehab program for drinking and smoking. 7 days a week, 7 hours a day. I was smoking and drinking. I'd done pills like a couple of times, and it opened up like a completely different world. Rehab was kind of a cool place because it was just a bunch of like-minded people or people struggling with the same thing in one place, and we get to talk about our feelings. But the bad part of that is that I did learn about a lot of new drugs. Well, actually, I got out of it because I took a bunch of pills, and I don't really know what my goal was, but I went to therapy the next day, and the therapist was like, "Well, did you intend to kill yourself?" And I was like, "Well, if it happened, I wouldn't have cared." And then she just like flipped out. She's like, "You gotta go, blah 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 blah. You gotta go to inpatient." I got checked into inpatient, so it was just like a facility to make sure that you don't kill yourself, essentially. So I was in that for 10 days over Christmas and New Year's. I was 17, and then 16 or 17, and then I got out, and I was like, "Do I have to go back to rehab?" And my parents were like, "No." I was like, "Cool." And then I never went to anything ever again. I never went back to rehab. I never went back to inpatient. And then after that, it was just kind of like, all right, I want to try some of those drugs I just found out about. Doing a lot of Molly, a lot of acid, a lot of shrooms. And then I got into painkillers, perks, and then Xanax. And then it just kind of just a bad spiral for the next couple years of kind of that harder shit. Yeah, so relationship with parents was bad. All-time low. We got into a lot of fights about where I was at, what I was doing. They would drug test me every week. It just was not a good dynamic. I remember just waking up and I would just go to my girlfriend's house. And I did junior year. So my junior year, first half was rehab, second half was COVID. So it was all online. And so I just stayed at home. And I didn't do school in person, so I didn't do it online either. And so I just go to my girlfriend's house, dude, and we just sit there, and her mom didn't care, so we just sit there on the patio and smoke and watch TV. And senior year was all online too because of COVID. So I went to school freshman and sophomore year, and then a few weeks of my junior year, and that was it. So it was just kind of a lot of time at home, and then at my girlfriend's house. A lot. That was kind of just like, dude, I would just go there. She wouldn't even be home, and I would just go there because that was where my bong was and my weed. And I would just pull up there, and I would just sit on the patio, and like no one would be home. I'd just sit there by myself. I had a really bad acid trip. I think I was 18, and that was like, that was the most insane, to this day, the most insane thing that has ever happened to me. That still affects me every day. I remember I took 4 tabs of acid, and I was by myself in my basement watching Netflix, and I kept hitting my pen, my dab pen too, and then the acid finally kicked in, and I just started to freak out. Like, it was bad. And I'd done acid before. I'd done acid 100 times before this, all by myself. I've never tripped on psychedelics with anyone else. I would consider myself to be like I knew what I was doing. And then, dude, for some reason, I don't know why, I kept hitting my dab pen. I don't know why. It just kept making it worse and worse. Ego death is just like every memory you've ever had is just gone. So, like your name, like you don't know your name. You don't know your family. You don't know your friends. You don't know anybody. It's just like a complete detachment from your ego. And when you have no attachment to that whatsoever, it's just, you're just nothing. And you're just like sitting here, and you're just like, it's literally just like if you close your eyes, you're just like one. It's just like you're in a void. Just like everything is just blended together. Like I went crazy. I'm not gonna go into the specifics just for like legal reasons, but I literally went. I went insane. To fast forward through that whole trip, my parents found me in the garage, just blood everywhere because I stabbed like a screwdriver through my hand. I still have a scar, and yeah, I just completely lost, and I didn't remember any of it. And this is eventually what got me to quit smoking weed, because that was the hardest addiction to quit, believe it or not. And it put me right back into that trip every time I smoked. But I wanted to keep smoking weed. So I built up a tolerance high enough to where it didn't put me back into that trip. So I just kept smoking, and then after that I just smoked like the most weed I had ever smoked in my life. I was going through like easily an ounce a week and like a 3-5 of wax every week. I'd gained back like 30 or 40 pounds that I had previously lost, and I didn't look good. I didn't look healthy. I was having breathing problems because I was smoking so much. If I keep going down this path, it's not going to be good. And I remember this vividly. I took shrooms after I had a bad acid trip. Super smart, I know. 2 things I learned on that trip. 1, I have to break up with my girlfriend. And eventually, I did do that. And then number 2 was I have to quit smoking weed. Deep down, you always know what you need to do. There's always that voice in the back of your head telling you what to do. And on that trip, that voice was there. I'm going to slow down on smoking weed. I'm going to try to include healthier habits in my life. And then I broke up with that girl. So then I was really by myself, right? She was my outlet. So when I didn't have that anymore, I was like, fuck, I'm by myself. Like, the only person I can rely on right now is me. So I need to be that person. So I gotta be as emotionally stable as possible. So I need to quit doing drugs. So that became my main focus, like to be there for myself, because I knew I didn't have that person to rely on anymore. I started doing yoga and meditating and reading books, and then I quit the landscaping job. I was like, I need something better. I need a healthier environment. People were smoking cigs next to me all day. They were passing joints. Like, it just wasn't good. So I got a job at a smoothie shop. When I started to become more health conscious and care about myself, I started in turn to care about people who cared about me. That was the biggest turning point with my mom, was when I started to tell her, yeah, I'm smoking. Yeah, I'm doing this. Hey, Mom, I think I want to quit this job because all we do is smoke weed all day. When I started to really get honest with her, that's when that relationship just complete 180. I started working out, and then I started running. To get over that breakup with that girl, I started running. That was one of my biggest outlets. I would get off work, it'd be like 9:30. I'd go to that gym right there, work out for 2 hours. I'd get home, it'd be midnight. I'd go run 8 miles. It was just like this extreme shift from being a piece of shit to really like just die. Because if I do something, I go all out. When I do drugs, I go all out. When I try to turn my life around and dive into fitness, I go all out. And that's what I did. And then I did that job for about a year, and I was like, I need something more. I just turned 21, and I'm sitting here working at a smoothie shop. I'm capable of a lot more. There's nothing wrong with working in a smoothie shop, but there is something wrong with doing something when you know you're capable of a lot more. There's something seriously wrong with that, because you're not living up to your full potential. I sat down at dinner with my mom and my stepdad, and I was like, because they were telling me, you're old enough, you got to get out of the house, you got to move. I was like, okay, that's totally fair. I was like, I need to find no education, I need to find a career that I can start taking seriously and live on my own and pay my rent. And I was like, well, I could move to a new city. I was like, what if I moved to Hawaii? I was just joking. And my mom was like, yeah, you should do it. Okay, let's do it. And I shit you not, that night we went home and I booked a one-way ticket to Hawaii. And that was just like the biggest turning point. I couldn't fall back. I couldn't fall back on this girl. I couldn't fall back on my mom. I was fully reliant on myself. So I had to get my shit together. Yeah. So then I moved here, and that was 2 years ago. 2 years ago next week. Moved 5,000 miles away. I didn't know anybody here. I got a job at the golf course at Midpack. And I found a little studio apartment, but it was hard. I didn't know anybody, and I had really bad anxiety to start with, so it was like hard for me to put myself out there like that. But I did, and I did that through drinking and smoking and socializing. A couple guys at the golf course, and they're like, hey, you want to come to the beach, drink a few beers after work? I was like, sure, yeah, because that's a way to get to know new people. But what I didn't realize is it's a way to get to know the wrong people. I was like, I cannot, this is supposed to be my fresh start. I cannot keep doing this. So I just completely quit socializing, like altogether. Like at work, put my headphones in, I didn't talk to anybody. I'd get home, I'd go to the gym, I'd go run, I'd make a healthy meal, I'd go to bed every single day for 1 year. And the longest time, and I remember I put that goal, and I went 171 days without touching weed, alcohol, pills, nicotine, or caffeine. 171 days. And I was like, holy shit, I can do it. I mean, it was literally work, gym, run, sleep. And when I was at work, I'd be sitting on a mower 8 hours a day, and I had my videos about stocks. That whole time, if I was listening to anything in my headphones, it was either audiobook, YouTube video on stocks, or some sort of motivational YouTube video. And that was the only content I would put into my brain. It was positivity, motivation, and stocks. I went from drinking and smoking, not making good decisions, being here dead broke, to I turned $17,000 into $80,000 in 14 months from stocks. I got in good shape, and I started to really focus on myself, and I started to be okay with being alone. That 12 to 14 months was the biggest turnaround of my life. And it got to the point where it's like people looked at me and they didn't recognize me because I was fit and I shaved my head, and it was just like this dude locked in. It was just like a really good feeling to put that much work and effort into myself and see the results, because it wasn't instant. It was 14 months later is when I looked in the mirror and I was like, holy shit, this works. I was like, that's what I thought. I was like, this actually does work. Work hard at something every single day for a year straight. And I mean every single day. No exceptions. It works. And that was like the biggest moment for me. I'm like, well, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it again for another 365 days. And I want to see what happens. I want to see what I can do with this year. And then the next. And that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing to this day. I have enough money right now to kind of slow down and maybe try to turn this into being my own boss. So I started making videos. But it was kind of a bad time because I quit my job. The S&P dropped by 23% in a matter of 6 weeks. I just got a new apartment in town that was a little more expensive, and I just bought a motorcycle. So boom, just like that, just as I was starting, I lost $20,000 in the stock market. I just paid $5,000 for this new bike, and I just paid $5,000 for this new apartment. And I'm like, shit, is this a bad time? And yeah, in theory, of course right, that was the worst possible time, but that doesn't mean it was necessarily a bad time to start. And I've been going at it ever since, making videos every day. And then I was like, I need to be as consistent with making videos as possible. So that's when I started my running every single day for 365 days. And today is day 153. And that was kind of just a way for me to stick with making videos. Like, okay, if I put out this video, I got to make this video every single day for 365 days. So that was kind of just a way to hold myself accountable to really sticking with this whole social media thing. And I've done it every day since, and I'm still working towards that. My mission statement is to be the person I needed when I was lost. I go every video, that's my intention. To be that person that I needed when I was lost and addicted and scared and lonely. Essentially, my goal is I want everyone to reach their full potential. I want everyone to move with intention, and I want people to realize that your story can add incredible value to this world. And I think there's not enough people telling their story. You can create whatever you want, but you got to find one thing to create, and you got to care about what you're creating. It doesn't matter what it is. It can literally be anything. But you just got to care about what that is.